Coast to Coast Criminal Podcast. I am your girl, Kellie Corinne. I am joined with me by my co-host, Jenna. Jenna, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. It's been a rough week for us. Just with everything that's going on. How are you taking it? What's going on?
I'm taking it. I think it's just everything that I see online and every other post that I read, like it just sickens me more and more, honestly. Like I'm ashamed to be white. You know what I mean? Like it's so
It's a lot.
horrible.
Yeah.
It really is. Like, and then what I hate is not only is it the horrible incident that happens, then it's the divide between people who just those who are so passionate about, justice and making a change, and then the other side that just doesn't get it. You know what I mean? Like it makes me look at people differently.
Yes. It's funny you said that. I literally said the same thing yesterday on Facebook. I'm actually active in another podcast Facebook. And I was speaking with a lady that actually lives in Minneapolis, and she was like, a white lady, and she was saying, she was like, I just couldn't believe, like, my friends, my family, just like how they are really kind of divided on this, and which was shocking to me because I'm like, where's the divide? Like, I know their divide, meaning this should be upsetting everyone. Like that's, we're not going to get too much into that today, and we'll probably cover that on a later date, and we may not, I don't even know. But it's like, to me, that was a very disturbing, upsetting video. And the cops that I know, I know I'm Facebook friends with another cop that was one of my brother's good friends, white guy, a post saying like it was disturbing, is, like really upset. And I think a lot of cops are even just upset about this because they know they're going to get a lot of backlash. So to me, it's like, why is there a divide on this? Why is like there should be no divide? So to me, it's like, and I said this to her, I was like, she said somebody should tell her not to say, like, told her not to say anything. I was like, no, don't. I said, no, don't do that. I said, because when you don't say anything, it's like you're stamping that you're okay with it,
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
and that's not cool. I said, no, don't. I said, you could speak on it, and I said, if nothing else, this open your eyes to who people really are. So I'm like, you think your family? I'm like, now that's how they really feel, and like I said, she's living in Minneapolis, so she's seeing the tension. She's experiencing the climate of this event firsthand,
Yeah, I get that, but the way that my thinking is set up is that once I know that that's who you are, once that's finally unveiled, I can never look at you the same way, and I can't rock with you anymore. You know what I mean?
Same. And there are a lot of things where there were other events where I could kind of see the other side, and I'm not going to speak on that too much, but this is like, yo, this was clear up front. Like, you've seen a lot of police brutality videos, a lot of cop shooting, that's just facts over the years, because they can always come out. This one to me was the most disturbing, because one, the optics of this white guy's knee on this black guy's neck, I didn't like that. That was unnerving. Number two, you have people telling you, yo, he can't breathe. Treat him like a human, like the people recording.
Right.
He sees that these people are recording him. You still kept your knee on that man's neck for 7 minutes. It's one thing to shoot somebody. You shoot somebody, that's a quick thing. It's still tragic. Like, I'm not mitigating it. It's still tragic, but it takes a millisecond to shoot. You took a long time to kill that guy. So because that dragged out, and to me, it's like, this wasn't a human. Like, I wouldn't treat a dog like that. Well, clearly we're not going to treat. We love dogs, and I probably more than most.
Oh
people.
yeah.
But you get what I'm saying. Like, if I saw somebody choking a dog, I'm going to be like, yo, what are you doing? But see, you're not going to think twice about stepping on an ant or stepping on a spider. To me, that man's life was like an ant or a spider, because you wouldn't do that to a dog, and you wouldn't do it in front of a camera, knowing, like, most people typically know not to do really messed up stuff in front of a camera. He clearly knew he was being recorded. It never occurred to him, maybe I shouldn't do this. And I say him, both of them, because his homie was there, watching them, kind of signing off on it.
I agree with you. And it just, you had mentioned the optics, and to me, it just gives off the message, because they just arrested the police officer today, but it gives off the message that if you don't like black people and you want to get away with taking some out the population, become a cop, because you're invincible at that point.
Yeah.
And I hate that, you know what I mean? Because it's not that way. But this guy was openly racist, and this just allowed him to, one less black guy to look at.
And had a history. Both of them had a history of police wrongdoings, if you will. So
to it.
Yeah. We're here to discuss the life and crimes of Aaron Hernandez. I just came up with that. I'm just joking, but
look at you. The thing in trying to understand, whether you know a very lot or a very little about the case, in trying to understand the gist of what happened, you have to understand that the case jumps back and forth so much, because as you find out things, there are things from the past that become known or unveiled. And I think that's why every documentary that's made on him is so hard to follow, because it jumps from present to past, and it's so hard to understand what happened. So, I mean, if you're looking at it in a purely chronological manner, it's a little easier to understand, even though some of what you're learning about from the past didn't become known until after his first trial had already happened. And that's what makes the case, in addition to the minutia of all these details, that's what makes the case so hard to understand.
Right. Definitely. So, Aaron Joseph Hernandez was born November 6, 1989, died April 19th, 2017. Played football throughout his high school career. Was a notable football player, clearly went into the NFL, and played college football for the Florida Gators.
Gators, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So in 2007,
at a bar, an off-campus bar called The Swamp, which is apparently like a known hangout in Gainesville. And it's where the players would go. And they were treated like royalty in Gainesville because they were Gators.
Okay.
But so I just wanted to throw that out there. And I should also say, before we go on, he was 17 years old. He was so young because what had happened was he was the top tight end in the country as a high school football player. Urban Meyer, the coach of the Gators at the time, went to Aaron's high school, Bristol, Connecticut, and convinced the principal to allow high school before basketball season. So this is before the winter. He graduated high school in his senior year, so he could go to Florida and start practicing with the football team half a year early.
Wow.
So that's why he was so young, but he was with the football team and he was already on campus. So you got this 17-year-old who's at the Swamp with the players, including Tim Tebow.
I saw
and
that.
Go ahead, you could pick it up from
there.
there.
Yeah. Was at the Swamp with Tim Tebow. Refused to pay his bill. Was escorted out by a restaurant employee. As the manager of the restaurant employee walked away, Aaron Hernandez sucker punched the guy, hit the guy on the side of his head, rupturing his eardrum. That's crazy to me. Police, of course, were called. They responded. Hernandez called the coach, and he was charged with felony battery. But the incident was settled out of court and nothing happened to him. See, and I'm thinking he was 17. Well, I don't know how things are now, but I was 17 when I was a freshman in college because I have a late birthday. You know, so did he. He had a November birthday, so I was 17. But I was not drinking in no clubs at 17. I'll tell you that much. But then again, I also wasn't the tight end at Florida Gators where I could do no wrong.
He was in college. There was a second incident that arose. And this incident was the college football players, a handful of them from the Gators, were at a club. And this was typical. This is what they did at night. And they were dancing, and a group of guys approached them, and they started arguing, both sides. And what happened was one of the guys snatched the chain of the Florida Gator football player, which I believe was Mike Pouncey, who was like one of Aaron's best friends. So dude snatched his chain, and they left the club.
Wow.
Aaron and all the football players chased them out the club, and they start arguing with them again. The guys get in the car, and as they're going to drive away, someone rolls up or walks up on the car and starts shooting into it. They hit the driver, they hit the passenger in the shoulder, they hit, I think the driver skimmed his head, and they hit but didn't injure the guy in the back seat. Eyewitness accounts from that night said it was either a very large light-skinned black guy or a Hawaiian guy, which obviously fits Aaron's description to a T because they said he had a bunch of tattoos. So Aaron went to the police station that night and said, I wasn't there. I don't have anything to do with it. And here's my lawyer's card. Handle it. And then they never talked to him again after that. So they never pointed that on him. And as it would come out years later, the guy who was in the back seat of that car saw Aaron on TV, I think for the Odin Lloyd thing, and was like, yo, that's the guy who shot me and my friend. That's the guy.
Wow.
But that case is still unsolved. They never did it, but that was over a chain.
Wow.
So what had happened was they're admitting that Aaron failed one drug test, and he was suspended for one game, I think his junior year at Florida. Urban Meyer suspended him. Now, the rumor is that he failed many more drug tests, but they only penalize him for the one. So after his junior year, Urban Meyer basically said to him, you're in a lot of trouble. We can't keep looking over these failed drug tests. You got to go pro because I can't with you anymore, basically. So he went pro and should have been drafted in the first round, which is a ginormous contract. But there were rumors that he is in a lot of trouble off the field, that he's hard to control, that he's a safety concern. He scored in their assessments. He scored as low as you could score for maturity. I mean, he was still a big kid. So he ended up dropping to the fourth round to the Patriots, and which was bad because he's from Bristol, Connecticut. So he was 2 hours in a drive from all the people he shouldn't have been around, but that he grew up with. So then he got to the NFL, and he was home. He was home around all of the bad people he should have been staying away from.
Wow. It was a Boston bar fight. 3:45, April 30th, 2011. Police responded to his townhouse in Plainview, Massachusetts. A high school friend came over that evening. They went to a Boston bar. Massachusetts state trooper pulled the car over, did not arrest the driver because he recognized Aaron Hernandez in the passenger seat. And this was, again, another bar fight.
We haven't even gotten to him playing yet in the NFL, right? I think the problem is there are so many incidents that we just named where there's either definitive links or questionable links between Hernandez and the crimes that happened that he never was punished for, never was held accountable for. So each of these is adding to the pot of first of all, his feeling of invincibility, where it's like, I could do whatever I want. What are they going to do? I'm untouchable. And just each time you get away with something, you can do a little bit more. You press the boundaries a little bit.
And if that isn't enough, 2012, Boston double homicide. I'm going to let you talk on this because I know you and I have discussed this, and I know you're a little more, bit more versed on this incident. But I have some theories on what I think went down.
Okay, so 2012 Boston nightclub. Aaron goes to the club with a guy named Alexander Bradley, who he's a known drug dealer. And in the trial, in the Odin Lloyd trial, in the double homicide trial, it came out that Alexander Bradley is like a kingpin of drugs in that area, in the New England area. So
allegedly,
when Aaron turned pro,
allegedly.
Yes. But I think Bradley admitted that he said he was his weed dealer. They just became good friends from that point. So when Hernandez turned pro, this weed dealer became like one of his right-hand guys. So the two of them are hanging out. They go to the club, and all that we know for sure is that Hernandez and Bradley are escorted into the club. There's like a line of people waiting to get in, checking IDs, but obviously they're VIPs. They go right in, they go downstairs. As they're coming in the club, you see Safiro Furtado and Daniel De Abreu, who are just two recently immigrated to the United States, hardworking young men who go to enjoy themselves. There is no video of what happened downstairs the night of the incident. It is rumored that Safiro Furtado and Daniel De Abreu were dancing and bumped into Aaron while he was holding his drink, talking to Alexander Bradley, and his drink spilled. It is the so-called spilled drink theory that prosecutors allege 9 minutes later, Safiro Furtado and Daniel De Abreu leave the club and get in their car, their BMW, and they start driving away. You see Alexander Bradley and Aaron Hernandez come out. They're talking, and they go to the parking tower where their silver SUV is parked. They come with, this is all security camera footage outdoor of businesses in that vicinity. You see that silver SUV come out of the parking lot, and they start essentially looking for the guys in their car. You see them circle the two fellas as they're walking to their car. The silver SUV is circling them like a shark in the water. When they get in their Beamer, they are driving away. They're at a red light. From eyewitness account and security camera footage, silver SUV rolls up on side of them. I think 5 or so shots are fired, and the SUV speeds off to almost never be seen again. They die on the scene. And what people find so interesting is such a terrible word, but what people find so interesting about this murder is that there were no leads from that night. It was like a dead night. There weren't a lot of people out. There weren't really any eyewitnesses other than the people in the other car who said that, yeah, it was a silver SUV with Rhode Island plates. That's all we know. But the Boston PD could never find the car. So the case just kind of went cold. When the Odin Lloyd thing happened, one of the Boston cops is watching Aaron Hernandez doing his perp walk out of his house. And he says, wait a minute. I remember seeing Hernandez on the security camera footage that night at the Cure nightclub. He was there. Okay, hold on. This is weird. And they eventually find out that he was there. The Boston PD then calls, I think, the North Attleboro police, who are investigating the Odin Lloyd murder. And they say, hey, listen, I know this is a long shot, but if you happen to find a silver SUV with Rhode Island plates, we're looking for one in our double murder. They said, no problem. The North Attleboro police end up searching Tanya Singleton's house, who's Aaron's closest cousin and closest person in the world. And lo and behold, in her garage, stashed away under cobwebs, is a silver SUV with Rhode Island tags that Hernandez was gifted as an endorsement with the rental car company for free pub.
Wow.
And that is what connected him to the case, which is why the second indictment was brought.
Now, Hernandez was acquitted of the murders of Daniel De Abreu and Safiro Furtado. Here's my thing with why I agree with the acquittal in the sense that it was a lack of evidence. It was just a lack of evidence. He's there with an alleged known drug dealer. We don't know if the drug dealer was the one that killed the guys. Of course, Aaron Hernandez's lawyer said that it was the drug dealer. The drug dealer's pointing the finger back at Aaron Hernandez. We don't have any eyewitnesses of what happened.
Well, there are actually, in the acquittal for the double murder, there are 2 reasons why. The first and foremost reason is that he had hired Jose Baez, who apparently gets horrible people off.
Yeah, he's an amazing defense attorney.
Right. He got famous from the Casey Anthony case. So he brings in the big gun, who, it should be said that he did not have Jose Baez in the first trial, he had Michael Fee. So, first reason was Jose Baez. Second reason was because Alexander Bradley's credibility, as you said, was shot. But the reason why it was shot is because, let's backpedal, Alexander Bradley got shot in the face, supposedly by Aaron Hernandez, blowing out his right eye, and he's sitting there with a glass eye in his right eye. And what had happened was Aaron Hernandez and Alexander Bradley were in Florida for a Super Bowl. Aaron wasn't playing in the Super Bowl. They were just there for parties. And they went to Tootsie's strip club.
Mm-hmm.
And there are two different versions about what happened. The first version is that Hernandez ran up a $10,000 plus bill, and he was mad that Bradley did not put in his share of the bill.
Mm-hmm.
The second theory is that, or the second alleged thing of what happened is that Hernandez said to Alexander Bradley, I can't trust you over a phone, because Aaron never wanted anybody around him to have an iPhone. This is when they first came out. Aaron had a BlackBerry, and he found out that you could record people on iPhone. So he didn't want anyone in his crew to have an iPhone. And Bradley had an iPhone. So he was saying he didn't trust him. Alexander Bradley fell asleep in the passenger seat. All of a sudden, he feels the car stop. He opens his eyes, and by his telling, there's a gun pointed in his face, and Aaron Hernandez shoots him, kicks him out the car, and drives off. Now, he was found. An eyewitness had called the police, and they rushed him to the hospital. They didn't think he was going to make it, but he made it. And the police the next day, when he woke up, were interviewing him, trying to get them to tell him who shot you in the face. And he never gave up Hernandez.
That's right. Well, you don't snitch.
Right. And that's what they were saying, was that he wanted to handle it himself. But Jose Baez just used that as more ammo to be like, this guy is not credible. The story keeps changing. How can you trust anything he says? And who's to say this guy wasn't the one who pulled the trigger on the two guys at Cure nightclub? Exactly. So, I mean, that really sunk the case for him and got him off in the case, basically. Right. Allegedly from the, I believe it was the Netflix documentary, they were saying that Bradley was threatening Hernandez once he got out of the hospital, and was like trying to extort him, like unless you give me this money. It said, I'll, remember I have these guns, I'll let you know. And then Aaron, as it stated in the documentary, Aaron went to the Patriots, Bill Belichick, and was like, trade me. I got to get out of here. Mm-hmm. And they wouldn't trade him, obviously, because they just gave him a $40 million contract. But he wouldn't do it. And that is where the so-called flop house came into play, because they got him, they said, we'll get another residence. He got a little, 2-bedroom flop house, and they wouldn't get rid of him. The Patriots wouldn't trade him. They wouldn't do anything. And he feared for his life, supposedly. Mm-hmm. And so he was living in this constant state of fear, which was mixed with paranoia, his daily use of weed and PCP. Daily.
Mm-hmm. And to me, I think the CTE. That's what I think. I think this guy really had lost his marbles.
Yeah.
Seriously.
If you see the brain scans from the testing, it was
like
CTE,
it was the brain of like an old man, like a
it was so sad how small his brain had gotten, because from CTE your brain cells die and then the brain shrinks.
Yeah.
So his brain was considerably smaller and had these gigantic gaping black holes in it, which is a marker of CTE. Mm-hmm. So many layers to this that, for me personally, the deeper that I look at the layers, or the more deeply that I look at the layers, the more sympathy I have for him.
Same.
Now, it's not saying that what he did wasn't horrible, because it all was. And I think needs to be accountable for all of that. But I really feel badly for him. When he was 16 years old, his father went in for routine hernia surgery and died on the table. And although allegedly his father really abused physically him and his brother and his mom, he was his disciplinarian. So he wasn't going to allow any of that stuff to take place. He wasn't going to allow Aaron to hang out with the people he hung out with. Mm-hmm. But so I think that kind of got the ball rolling on this horrible path he went down. But then to add insult to injury, as explained in the Netflix documentary, after his father died like a month or two.
Oh, yeah, his mom got a new boyfriend.
Right. Well, yeah, his mom got a new boyfriend, but the boyfriend happened to be Tanya Singleton's husband.
Right. His first cousin's husband. Yep.
Right. So the husband, Jeff Cummings, moved into the Hernandez home, pushed Aaron out his family home because he didn't want to be there, right? So he went to live with Tanya Singleton in the same house, which years later they would find the silver SUV. But it was at Tanya's house where he didn't have any rules, where he started being able to smoke weed, to drink, to do whatever he wanted to do. And it is where he met Wallace and Ortiz as a high school person, as a high school student. He met them, who would become the two men who were there the night of the murder, supposedly at the crime scene when it happened. It's just sad because you don't understand, especially not when you're that young, because I know I didn't. Mm-hmm. But you don't understand how one decision changes the course of this, and then another decision puts you on this path.
Absolutely.
Smart enough at that age, nobody is, to understand the overall picture of it. So although when he was older and doing, dumb stuff, he could have made better decisions. But when you're young and you're dealing with the loss of a parent, you aren't smart enough to make better decisions. So, okay, so let's start to before they found the body, because every show starts when the jogger found the body.
So, okay, June 18th, 2013.
Hernandez is texting, and this has all already been proven in court. He's texting Wallace and Ortiz saying, get your ass up here, get your ass up here. He's also texting Lloyd, who 2 nights prior to that, they were at Rumor nightclub together, partying, spent $10,000. They were partying, having a good time. So Hernandez is texting Lloyd, like, let's step again, let's have a good time. But this time he has Wallace and Ortiz with him. So Wallace and Ortiz get to the house. They drive, they go to a gas station, they go and they pick up Odin Lloyd, which that's on camera from the neighbor's security camera. Lloyd gets in a car. They trace the cell phone towers and security camera footage to this industrial park that's a half mile behind Hernandez's house. You see the car come in. It's there for like 7 minutes, I think. And then the car pulls out. From the time it would take to get from the industrial park to Hernandez's house, you see the guys pull up on his security camera footage. 3 guys get out of the car. They're chilling, whatever. So the next afternoon, 5 o'clock the next day, a jogger, a high school track runner, was jogging home through the industrial park, and he came across a dead body. Called the cops. They come, they collect evidence, they process the scene. The one thing that immediately connected Odin Lloyd to Aaron Hernandez was that he had rental car keys in his pocket. So they call Enterprise Rent-A-Car, say who's his car registered to, and they said, oh, that's Aaron Hernandez's car. So they go over to Hernandez's house. They knock on the door. He's like, listen, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have anything to do with anything. Here's my lawyer. Call him. So the lawyer then calls Hernandez and says, meet me at the police station. We'll answer questioning together. Shayana takes Aaron to the police station, and he waits for the lawyer. The lawyer gets there. Aaron goes out to the lawyer's car, and like a dummy, the lawyer, it's nighttime, so it's dark, but the lawyer leaves the car doors open while he's looking for something in the back seat, and you could see Aaron sitting in the front passenger seat dismantling his phone because the car doors were open. You could see he's literally taking apart his phone. He's using the lawyer's cell phone to call any other people. So he goes home. Then ultimately the police are able to connect Hernandez to Odin Lloyd because, number one, Hernandez is the only person in North Attleboro, which is 2 hours away from Dorchester, where Lloyd was. The only person he knows is Aaron Hernandez. That's the only reason why he's going to be over there. They found the car keys. They found a white sweat rag that was at the scene next to Lloyd's body, which is the same white rag that they saw Carlos Ortiz wearing on the security camera footage of Aaron Hernandez and them at the gas station on the way to go pick up Odin Lloyd. Mm. They also find a half-smoked blunt with Hernandez's DNA on it next to the body. They find 5 shell casings, but there were 6 gunshot wounds. So the 6th gunshot casing they eventually find in the rental car that Hernandez returned the next day. which that also had Hernandez's DNA on it. So it's like people said about the case, they're like, well, if you want to learn how to not get caught, watch this and don't do anything he did, because he made their case for them in it.
Mm-hmm.
He made it easy for them to point a finger at him.
But what was hard for me to swallow, and we talked about this when the documentary first dropped, never said why. They never said why. And most people that are on juries, when they hear these cases, we need a why. We need a motive. And there never was a motive. There are rumors that they think that Lloyd found out about his sexuality, his bisexuality, and he was going to out him.
The one alleged rumor about the motive actually came from a sports reporter in the Boston area. And there were rumors that the prosecution kept asking the judge to bring up Aaron's sexuality in the case. I'm sorry, this was in the double murder. They kept trying to bring up his sexuality, and Aaron's defense lawyers kept striking it down, saying it was illegal to do so.
Mm-hmm.
So people had ideas, people involved with the case, but nobody ever said anything. But it wasn't until this Michelle McPhee went on Boston radio on a major sports talk show and was like, oh yeah, ask the boyfriend. Because Odin Lloyd caught him in a compromising position, and that's why Hernandez killed him. And
right, which was all made up. It was all
right,
no
and it was but it was 2 days later that he killed himself. So they were saying in, I believe, the Netflix documentary, after this woman had that, rant on sports radio, one of Aaron's friends called him and told him about it, and then he killed himself.
And I'm gonna be honest, I don't think that was the reason why. I don't think that's why he killed himself. This guy was allegedly had a boyfriend in jail. He's in jail. He's convicted doing time. That theory on him killing himself was the fact that back in the state of Massachusetts, if you have an appeal and the person dies, the state of Massachusetts pretty much overturns that conviction. His girlfriend needs this money, has a baby. If I kill myself, she's going to get this check. She's going to get this money because my appeal will, because of that law and where that law came from. Because it was a prior issue. There was a child molester, a convicted child molester that was a priest, was killed in jail, and he had an appeal going on. And because he was murdered in jail, his conviction was I don't know if the word is overturned, but maybe vacated.
Yeah, vacated.
Okay, vacated. So it could have been that. I'm kind of I don't buy the gay thing. This guy was in jail doing time, had a lot of years, probably had a boyfriend anyway in jail.
I mean, the thing is, I agree with you. I think the law is called abatement, and apparently, the child molesting priest was staying in, I think that was the Sousa Baranowski prison, which is where Aaron was, and they said in that circle, in that prison, they knew about abatement. So I think that he caught wind of it and thought, I'll sacrifice. I'm not getting out of here anyway. I'll sacrifice so that Shayana and Abiel can have this money. Because if the murder conviction was vacated, then technically he didn't commit the murder, and the Patriots would have to pay him, I think it was something like $8 million from his contract that he had signed. The saddest part about that, though, if that is true, is that the conviction was vacated, and then shortly thereafter it was overturned and it was reinstated. So if he did that for them to get the money because of abatement was deemed too archaic and was taken out of the equation
because of this. And I gotta say, I think it's kind of jacked up. Y'all, you did the abatement for the friggin' child molester over here, but you're gonna overturn it, for him, which my heart goes out to the victims' families. I get it. But this guy, I mean, let's call a spade a spade. This guy is dead anyway. The abatement, at least his family can be taken care of because they're innocent. His daughter didn't do anything.
Right. Now, this is what I think is interesting, is that it was talked about in a few different documentaries, but between the time that the murder happened that night, like 3:00 in the morning or something, and when the police went to his house later in the day, the next day, Aaron was home all day and had time to delete security camera footage, because it has been stated in the court case that some of the security camera footage from his house was deleted, but not all of it.
And come on, man. If they're gonna do something, do it all the way. Just
right. Why would you allow the security camera footage, which you can review? Why would you allow it to show y'all pulling up to the house? Why would you allow it to show you coming up from your basement with a Glock in your hand? Right? Why would you leave that in there unless you wanted to be caught?
Well, here's again, he's dealing with that CTE. His brain is scrambled. I mean, like you said, he wanted to. It's like he set himself up, which I don't think he did on purpose. But to me, that's just a testament of how this dude's brain was really flicked up.
No, I completely agree with you. But then I raise this question: if Carlos Ortiz and Ernest Wallace are his boys, his protectors, then why didn't one of them step up and say, "Yeah, I pulled the trigger"? They got charged with accessory anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's your boy and you're so ride or die for him, right, and he's a celebrity making all the money, why not take the rap for him?
I wouldn't do that. Who would do that?
I don't know. I mean, Wallace was like 40 years old anyway. Why not just take the rap? They're still in jail. Do you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like they were walking out and going home.
I don't know. I think that's a tall ass.
It is, but that's how it goes when you're in those circles like that. You have somebody who's the moneymaker and who's a famous one. The point of having boys around you is that they'll help you out when you need help.
Yes, I know what you're saying. I definitely know what you're saying.
That bothered me though, because I'm like, what was the point of y'all then anyway in his life? Even if he didn't do it, right? Everything points to him. Like, did he not think this all going to come back to me anyway?
No, he didn't think that. No.
It's nuts. It seems so haphazardly planned. And I think, though, that stems from his invincibility. Like, if you don't ever get in trouble for anything, you don't need to be careful about your actions. You don't need to cover your tracks.
Plus, you're dealing with some serious mental health issues.
A doctor who diagnosed the CTE post-mortem had said that it looked like a buildup of at least 10 years of hitting that contributed to that.
To me, that goes because he was wilding out in college. So there clearly was some CTE in college. That goes back to these kids. And I'm not saying don't put your kids in football. That's your business. You know, mine won't. Mine ain't. My kids ain't signing up for football. No, you can play baseball.
Right.
Else, But that, to me, that's just a testament to this, this football, this CTE stuff. I mean, it's so many cases of these football players with domestic violence charges.
I agree with you. But then I feel like my next question is this, though. How much blame do you feel that Urban Meyer gets? Because, number one, you take him out of high school when he's 17 years old, knowing he's too damn young and immature, right? And then all you do is cover up his criminal involvement so that he can play football for your school.
They all turn a blind eye. I mean, when you were in high school, we're getting a little off topic, but when you were in high school, correct me if I'm wrong, but the football players, they gonna pass.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They ain't gotta show up to class. What?
Absolutely.
What? Everybody's gonna pass them. It's
you know what? I agree with you on that, but don't you think there's a line between not showing up to class and not getting disciplined? And allegedly shooting 3 people in a car, not getting disciplined? Absolutely. Busting a guy's eardrum?
Absolutely. But what I'm saying is, and clearly not all football players do this outrageous, things allegedly.
Right.
But definitely, but again, it just goes back to the culture of not holding folks accountable for their actions. Maybe that teacher shouldn't just go ahead and pass that student. Make them take the freaking test. They gotta do not summer school. They gotta go to the study hall anyway.
Right.
You know,
I agree.
take the test. But that's the culture. We put our athletes on a pedestal. It is what it is.
This is a great first episode, though, because it shows that you may think you know a lot about the case or what happened, but there are always layers and levels to this. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah,
important. And you could draw whatever conclusion you want, but at least understand what's under all those layers
yeah,
and then make your
definitely,
decision.
definitely. So we're gonna wrap up this episode. This is the first episode of Coast to Coast Criminal Podcast. Again, I'm your girl Kelly Corinne. You can call me Kelly. I'll probably go by Kelly henceforth. But I have my girl Jenna, my co-host and good friend Jenna. We're the Coast to Coast Podcast because I am on the East Coast. Kelly Corinne speaking. I'm on the East Coast in the Washington D.C. area. Jenna is on the West Coast and the very lovely LA area. I wish I was over there right now. Well, maybe not right now during all this Corona stuff.
Right? You might want to
y'all
wait
got a
till
little
it's
more.
safe to travel.
Y'all got some more cases than we have, but I enjoy the left coast. I really do. And if you're into it, and I know this episode was a little bumpy. I'm going to do my best with the editing. If you're still here listening, I appreciate it. We're going to be here every week. We're going to give you cases, not just murders. We're going to cover, like I said, it's coast to coast criminal. So we're going to do some fraud cases. We're going to be a little bit of white collar forgery cases, just stuff. But we're covering cases from the left coast to the right coast. And we're going to be tackling cases that we're going to do some well-known cases like the one we just covered, Aaron Hernandez, but we're going to give you more lesser known cases because there are 1,000,001 true crime podcasts out there. I don't want to give you something that you heard on Crime Junkie or Red Handed Podcast or Wine and Crime, which are all amazing podcasts, not taking anything from them. But I want to give you some cases that you probably haven't heard of, give you some real head scratchers. So many cases about female victims, for lack of a better term. I want to get some cases where the tables are turned. Maybe we got some female perpetrators.
There you go.
Just be anywhere in the world, but you chose to be here with us, and we appreciate it.
Always appreciate the love. And if you have any cases that you want to hear us talk about, let us know.
Definitely. And you can reach us here on the Anchor app. You can send us a voice note or you can send us an email. Email is coasttocoastcriminalpodcast@gmail. I'm going to put our links down in the description box. All our information, our handles, our social media handles. Go ahead, give us a like, give us a follow. And how about you, Jenna?
I'm good. Till next time.
Till next time. See you guys next week.